So this is,
Go on.
this is extremely important. Let me show the images because that's always important. Yeah, I mean, if you think about how much stuff runs on computers, it's actually really scary, right? And there are sectors of government that are officially scared about what could happen if our computers don't know who they're talking to. So yeah, so this was the president joining our 2015 working to improve digital authentication. So you're like, awesome, let's do this. Nope, that's Dr. Lawler's homepage. Wait, what? What did I just click is the important question. And so it turns out, right, this is not, in fact, from the White House. This is from, let's see, President of the White House does not designate. It's from mchi.cz. And if you notice, let's see, so this unfortunately, this has been figured out. But basically, you can have the link text says whitehouse.gov, right, / whatever 2015 authorization task force, and the link text looks really similar, whitehouse.gov, right, underscore, yeah, task force, underscore, @. Does anyone know what this @ does?
It's partly pretty standard that does it.
Yeah, you can have a username. Can the username have dots? Some dot law or something. Can the username have underscores? Sure, no, underscore law. Can the username look suspiciously like a DNS name? Yes, absolutely. And so it used to be, if you hover your mouse over this, it would say whitehouse.gov, something plausible, right? And there's usually some kind of garbage like at the end of a URL, so it totally seems legit, right? You click, maybe it looks like whitehouse.gov. Right, so the president just needs your name and social security number and your date of birth and your mother's maiden name and all of your passwords for all of your accounts to get you onto the task force, right? So the problem is, this email is spoofed, right? The from address is a line somewhere in a, it's literally the from line. It's actually not that complicated. From quote unquote Barack Obama, right? President at whitehouse.gov. And something goes wrong, email president@whitehouse.gov, right? And then this, it looks like it's from president@whitehouse.gov, but it's not. It's from me, right? Because there is no, I was going to send this to all of you, and actually Gmail counts as spam by default. So the problem is, right, how do you know this is whitehouse.gov? You don't at all. And in fact, so you might say, well, why is this message arriving from .cz for whitehouse.gov? Why did that happen? Message, right, for a different from address. That's the real question, yeah.
That's sort of the holistic belief that we had.
And this dates way back. The old school, SMTP, the mailbox transport protocol, was designed for like when the links would come up and go down between machines. Maybe you turn on the modem and dial into Stanford once a day or something, and then you get the email. So it was sort of a store and forward style network for email transport. And there was no authentication at the time for how stuff gets stored, and it's really hard to back engineer that stuff in there. So unfortunately, it's the same kind of deal. But if I type Amazon.com, and eventually this is going to result in me like entering my credit card. How do you know you really got to Amazon.com? How do you know that, like, so this happens a ton. The router that basically gives you access to the internet at home has some default login and password, or has some security problem that means that, like, people can assemble a botnet about someone. And then they can control everything that comes in and goes out on your network. They control DNS, they control all the traffic. And so I do DNS like a Amazon.com and says, oh yeah, you want donkey porn, right? Because they're getting some fraction of a cent every time, there's nobody else actually wants that. So it's that's the only way to get traffic. So the deal is, so here's how this is supposed to work. I go to Amazon.com. And it's just kind of a provisional, like, well, I guess maybe this could be Amazon.com. Notice it hasn't actually kicked on HTTPS. So if I look at my account, then it says, like, oh, okay, HTTPS, right? Because now it kind of cares. So this is sort of so the modern security model has been kind of this blended security model. There's a lot of stuff where they don't care, right? It's HTTP, right? You go to go to Amazon, and this saves them the work of having to encrypt all the traffic everybody showing on the front page. What's the downside of the blended security model? Some are secure, some aren't.
Hard to tell precisely.
Yeah, so in theory, right, the really aware consumer is supposed to, when you see the lock icon. Now this is a real problem because you look at like Lawler.cs. I used to have an icon. Okay, HTTPS has the lock icon. You can actually make a custom icon for your site, and it shows up in like the same spot. Right? So like there's tools that like SSL strip proxy violence, like basically it sees requests. So if you own the network, you see a request for HTTPS, whatever. You just say, yeah, you wanted HTTP, right? Redirect to the insecure version, and it's amazing how much crap this works for. This is embarrassing how much this stuff is for. And it's got some very sort of fun-heavy tricks. Like people have a favorite icon that looks like a little green block, right? So that if you've been carefully trained the users, like you have to have a little green block, and then you know it's secure. I mean, this is broken. Right? In the modern world, it ought to be HTTPS everywhere. Right? That just ought to be the only way that anything ever happens. So if you have HTTPS everywhere, the theory is, right? I go to www.cs, I go to Amazon.com. How do you know this is really Amazon.com? I mean, I can protect the data in transit across the network with like 50 elements in the exchange or something, and I can say, yeah, we will establish a shared key with the server, and then any data we send is going to be like AES encrypted across the network or something. And, hey, life is good, tough to read. The problem is that really Amazon.com, or is that my server? That's my forked router basically just saying, oh yeah, I'm Amazon.com. And then giving you sort of a fake version of Amazon.com to like pass through into the real Amazon.com, the man in the middle attack. Even if the man's name isn't you. How do you avoid man in the middle attack? In other words, so the secrecy bit is actually quite easy to do. Right? We've seen tools for doing that. The authentication bit, right? How do you know this is really Amazon.com? How do I know that really was from the White House? Right? Who is authorized to send email for the White House? Oh, right? You have to. So you have to figure out these questions if you want to answer that. So how does this work? Well, how does this work? Anybody know? Yeah, so I think we saw this. So there's VeriSign Class 3 secure server, right? So if you look at the gory details, and trust me, no one really looks at this except in a crypto class. So there's a built-in token saying we like VeriSign. VeriSign certificate authority G2, and the time range. This is actually kind of amazing. Until 2028, my browser is willing to trust VeriSign's certificates, and it was signed in 1998. So they were using RSA encryption. They only have a 1024-bit key. This is built in to my browser. So if somebody can crack that 24-bit key, these numbers are the product of two integers, fairly small integers, 512-bit primes. Of course, there's a lot of 512-bit primes, but so if somebody can crack that, they can pretend to be anyone from. That's really dangerous. But this one is built. So you think this was like built-in like authentications? These are these have been lost periodically. Typically not by somebody like brute forcing the front door, but if you're a VeriSign, and periodically somebody's going to ask you to cryptographically sign, raise this thing to you can write a Perl script. You can write a Python script. We wrote a Python script. So what do? Web front ends, PHP, calls the Python script to do the arithmetic, right? What could go wrong? So SQL injection attack on PHP, right? It means that like you think you're signing for I don't know something.cz and you're really signing for whitehouse.gov. Amazon, right? Easy enough. There have been sort of these what from the advanced persistent threat, or some pretty well dedicated patient group of attackers is basically going to go over the process of a couple of months trying to establish access inside their server and basically get the private key out. Because if they have the private key, they can suddenly sign their own certificates, right? And then they can use those for these sort of very carefully targeted attacks. And then it sort of came over, right? Because HTTPS basically is broken. It doesn't help if any of these things are broken. So VeriSign has said. VeriSign is built into everything for all time. So G2 goes to G5, and G5, this seems a little bit backwards, but G5, I believe, is 2021, and they use 2048-bit key, which seems like exactly backwards. This is the one that's almost impossible to replace, right? Browsers across the world have it hard coded in. It's a smaller key than this one, and it lasts longer. That seems bizarre and backwards, but that's the way it is. So I have a G2 and then I have a G5. Why would you do this if you're VeriSign? You have like the real secret that boy, we better keep that one secret. That one's really important. And then this one that is less important. And then apparently I have the G3, which is yet another step down. And I think it's probably 2048 bit. Yeah, it's 2048 bit as well. And it's only good until let's see, 2020. And then finally we signed for Amazon. So everything up to that point has been inside VeriSign. Why would you do that? What's the point of that? Yeah, so the deal is, this one is so important, VeriSign is going to have a really hard time convincing every browser vendor in the world to include theirs in there that gets so where do you think the private key for VeriSign is stored? I mean, is it a... Not on the internet?
How do they get to it?
How can there be a computer that's not on the internet?
Probably printed out like in a vault.
How in a vault? That's crazy. How, I mean, if it's in a vault, how do you sign the G5? Someone takes the G5 key into the vault, gets it signed, and then takes the vault. I mean, so if you really care about secrets, there's really well-established protocols for how to maintain secrets. Military's been doing this for 70 years on computers. And the deal is, the computer is in a vault. It's in a hole in the ground. There are two armed guards that do independent shifts, so they don't really get to know each other, right? Outside the vault. Right, there's a whole protocol. Right, the vault is in the middle of a military base, so that if somebody really is like guns and bombs attack, then they're not going to get into the vault. The vault is going to self-destruct before that. Right? So we know how to make things secure. It's just a horrible pain in the butt. Right? So the deal is like you can have Amazon's front page could be in the vault, and you're like, you want to shop at Amazon? Just get through the security clearance, and then go through the metal detector, and then get into the vault, and then you can shop at Amazon. That's So we can get one step removed from that by having the vault, right? So some guy somewhere signed this G5. That's a good, and this one too. That one's in like a real vault. Vault that like opens once at a whole room. Right? That one almost never opens. This one is just in like the office vault, right? Which is like it's in the process office. So it's a vault, but it's not like a vault. None of these are on the internet. That'd be insane. Right? And they're on machines that are not running anything else. So the G3, right? So the G3 might even be on the internet. It's more practice. How would you protect? So of course, the Amazon, that one's on the internet. That's guaranteed to be on the internet. Every time anybody is basically going and doing connection, they're using Amazon private key. But so the cool part about this, so chain of trust, and you can have like the super duper secret stuff. The trick is you almost never have to access it. Right? I mean, the hope is this secret is going to be good for 30 years. They, in 1998, they thought the crypto progress was not going to be quite as fast on prime number banking, so they figured 1024 bits was going to be enough. They probably should have been thinking a little further ahead there. But you can use that, right? We made some decision back in 1998 that we're stuck with 1024 bits for the next few years, unless you want to just make a different one. So we have this hierarchy of secrets. So the trick is, we almost never have to access this, which makes it much easier to keep things secure. Right? So every once in a while, you actually go to like level 2, and level 2 signs level 3, and then that one's the one that actually goes out to it out. So built into the browser, all these things. Again, we did this, right? You take that modulus, you can raise the public exponent, which is 65.537. Right, so just math. Any questions about the math from last week, I suppose? How does RSA encryption operationally work? The rationale involves multiplication function. Hopefully we'll be on there. How do I encrypt something with RSA? I raise that public exponent, modulus, public modulus. How do I decrypt it? Well, I raise it to the private exponent, which I have to keep private. And then because of the way the Toshin function makes this wrap around mod that number, hey, we're good. So, any questions on that? So the trick is, somewhere there's a secret that corresponds to each one of these public things. This secret is at Amazon, and it's guaranteed to be on the internet, and then the secret's not back. So like the class 3 secure server, maybe that one's also in a vault, not connected to the internet. And then so the sort of graduation of secrets, right, is like the secret that's buried or welded shut into the casks, right, that are going to be radioactive for 1,000 years, so no one's going to open them, right? And all the way down to like the machine that's on the internet, like serving web pages. Because there's a lot of ways for machines on the internet serving web pages. Buffer overflow attack on the server, whatever. Right? Lots of ways for stuff to get into that things to happen. Any intermediates in there? I've heard of some kind of cool ones. One is, here's the key signing server. It's connected to the internet via a serial line. Because like Ethernet, there's all these different packets that go over serial. There's a million different services. You can port scan, you can ping, you can lots of attack surface. So they use like a serial line because it's just a smaller attack surface, right? That way the machine can stay in the vault. The only thing that comes out is the serial line. Down the serial line, you put these. You bet them on your end because it's really going to open on its end. Basically, serial line is getting like key sign requests saying like, I would like you to sign this thing, right? So sign this. So we should do some of those. So so to do this, right, I need a private key and a public key. So I can generate these things with OpenSSL. And let's see, make sure I managed to forget the syntax for doing this. So this sounds really. There's a bunch of stuff here. So OpenSSL rec is the sort of key setting stuff. -new means I want a new key. I'm formatted as RSA, 2048 bits. This is the same reason. Let's bump that up to 4096. See, no DES means that my private key is not going to be encrypted. You can encrypt your private key. Let's see. So my key out is. What I'm going to do? I'm going to start with a self-signed certificate. So this is basically what this is going to be. This is going to be a certificate that says, I am the Assembly Extremist Society, this fictional terrorist organization. Let's see. -X509. And then I'm going to need so I say how long I want this certificate to be valid for, which is all of them. Or what would the Assembly Extremist Society be? 10, 24 days. Okay, so it's basically made this key. So funny thing about this, so we've got a certificate and then a key. The key is the private key, and I don't care about these things, so I'll just show these. So there's the private key. I should not have done 2048 bits. So you know what? I'm going to do the real number, which is 256 bits. Oh, 384 bits required. This will make them easier to print. It says you still can't do that. You can't even fit a modern RSA signature in. Everything's mod 348. So can I do a 512 bit? There we go. So here we have a key. There's this private key, right? That's the so. Do you see anything worth protecting there? Not really. And then what is the certificate? There's the certificate, also sort of gibberish looking. Anybody know what formats those are? Yeah. So this thing is base or encoded, and you can actually get. I can grab out of the dashes. So if a line begins with a dash, it's bad. Grab that on sure. I've got the base 64 decode. And there's some binary garbage. And the binary garbage actually has like the Assembly Extreme Society, ASWU, Fairbanks, Alaska, right? Alaska. So the strings show up in here. Anybody recognize the binary garbage? The binary garbage is this crazy 1980s telecom format, DER, the Distinguished Encoding Representation. It's some variant of ASN encoding. So it's a binary encoding. It's actually quite unfriendly to read. But luckily, OpenSSL has some tools for this, so you can do X509. So we can read the certificate file. Yeah, everything. And I can dump it to the screen. So here it is, right? And it's just saying, I am the Assembly Extreme Society. This is good until 2017. That's however long we told it to be. Let's see, RSA encryption, there's the public modulus, there's the public exponent, and we don't have the private data on here. That's, this works. So we have a SHA-286, so this is SHA-286 checksums, RSA encryption. You can do the same dump on the key, so I can dump the private key, and it's a really different format. I remember it. It's totally possible to dump the key. Let's remember how to do it. Maybe they don't want you to make that easy to see. Dump the key. It looks really, the format is really similar. Actually, I've tried just changing the, yeah, this is saying it doesn't like the DER stuff inside there. So somewhere in that key is the private. So I got a certificate. You can actually, so you can get certificates from lots of different places. So for example, I should be able to download Amazon certificate here. Let me see if, I wonder if I can get the whole chain. So I'm going to start at the root, export, so I can export the single certificate or the whole certificate chain. So base 64 is, base 64 is the PEM format. First of all, there's a million different formats for this. DER is sort of the raw binary. So formats are surprisingly unuser-friendly. I think because the only people that are dealing with this are sort of clued in. Sort of the assumption is you don't care about the keys or certificates or anything unless you kind of know what you're doing. So there's Amazon certificate, and I should be able to dump that data. So there's right, similar setup, RSA encrypted. It is. Well, this is the wrong one. So here's the surprising thing. Let's export more. So if I do an Amazon export, do I have to click on Amazon? I just exported it wrong. So here's Amazon, this whole thing that I have. I told it certificate chain, give me everything. There we go. Yeah, so this is the other funny thing about these things. So here it's actually taken one certificate. So there's the PEM for like the original VeriSign like root. There's another one which is the VeriSign intermediate. There's the next stage of it, Amazon the VeriSign intermediate, and then finally Amazon. No, it's probably the other way around actually. So if I use this dump tool built into OpenSSL, what I get is let's see. So here I clearly got the Amazon one, which is listed first. So this actually frustrates me. So you have like a PEM file. PEM file it's basically base64 from DER. In other words, none of these are really human readable, right? And DER eventually has somewhere in there it's basically binary start field or something, then a string saying Amazon. Binary, so the binary like not particularly user friendly. They'll just arbitrarily stick several of these PEM files together in some order. So in this case, right, they will start at like Amazon, then the root will be up here, and then a different program will actually expect the same format, but in a different order. So that's frustrating. We've had several situations on our university boxes where it would server worked fine for everything except like Git checkout, because Git checkout uses GNU TLS instead of OpenSSL. OpenSSL doesn't care what order the certificates are listed in, and GNU TLS does. So this is silly. And then OpenSSL, if you want to debug it, will only show you the first one in the file, and it makes me think there has to be a tool. Does anyone know the tool for like dumping all of the certificates? Ordering the certificates in some, like, is there some standardized? I can't seem to find any.
Like use grep.
Use grep and just like that. And I mean, I would like set up my server. I had to manually like just pull out each certificate from the glob that came back from certificate 3 and say, okay, yeah, that's the root. So that one should be first. GNU TLS wants like root, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, because then it can just check them right, one at a time, each one in memory. OpenSSL will just kind of put them in some big table, which I presume is more security. There's potential for security problems if you're storing a table of certificates and then trying to check the table of certificates. So the deal is somewhere in your machine, let's see, and actually there's probably several of these, so there's a bunch of certs, and somewhere in here is the VeriSign. So for example, here's the G2 certificate authority, class 3 G2. Yes. So VeriSign, class 3, G2. So this should be the same one here, class 3, G2. Looks plausible. So I'm going to compare that to the Amazon one. So built in your browser somewhere, there is a set of certs that it will accept. So there's one downside with this. You see how many certs? It's like default accepts, and it's a surprisingly large number. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know. America Online, they're assumed secure, right? But so fine, okay. I mean, this is basically like the who's who of anybody that like felt it was important to be in the root cert list, so they basically just said, shovel it in there. So Komodo, right, will actually sell you, they actually sign stuff. The Camerfema Chambers of Commerce, I'm sort of surprised they wanted to have that in there. Yeah. The SINOC is, So the reason all of these are post office root, or it's the post root, whatever that is. It's some Greek company, GoDaddy, they also do hosting. Yeah, so it's a little frustrating, and there's some debate as to whether this model is even sustainable. I mean, most of these companies actually more or less know what they're doing, we hope. But the problem is they all have to be 100% perfect, or else people can forge. It actually seems kind of surprising to me that we're not at the situation yet where, like, GoDaddy can sign for GoDaddy hosted sites only. GoDaddy can sign for anything, which means GoDaddy can host any site, which GoDaddy wants that to be the case. But like, if you're the Hong Kong post office, that really is the Hong Kong post office, then .cn, sure, yeah. .com, well, maybe. Well, I guess .gov shouldn't be, but maybe is, right? There isn't really a way to attribute who's what, who's responsible for what. As far as the roots are concerned, then that's all good. Now it is a little bit surprising, and then actually somebody. I have no idea what that is. That may just be a renamed version of one of these other ones. Right. Communication Center. What country is SK? So yeah, I mean, Estonia is trustworthy. There's got to be somebody whose country, right, that says like we have the official authority of something across from somewhere. Like, well, okay, fine. It's interesting. It's actually it's surprisingly hard to even search on here. In the binary files, you'd think it would come. -I. Yeah, maybe there's some Unicode that's the Korean version of Korea, but yeah. So the roots are actually something of a mess. I mean, that's kind of a known thing, right? We feel like we should do something about the roots. So yeah, okay. So you start from a root, and you can in fact you can walk your way down this list, and you can basically verify that unless anybody along the line has screwed up, we're actually okay, which is good, right? So this is a great leap forward from where we were before, right? Which was like I'll ask about packets, and then somebody says they're Amazon, whatever, right? That's close enough. So if you look, right, if I want to get one of these things signed, so I will make a key signing request, and again, it's sort of just this giant block of junk. So I have a subject line, and the subject line actually says what somewhere. My key signing subject line actually will tell me who I'm signing for. So I can say, for example, that I am in a country, I have this organization name, the controlled name or the common name is that's the right? That's what they've chosen. But they sort of had to backport this stuff into a format that wasn't entirely designed for it. So I can say, yeah, I'm signing for this thing. So if I generate a key signing request, that looks like. So what I've done, so slightly different set of commands. If I say my common name or the control namespace doesn't exist. So I can say, yes, I've just founded this Assembly Extremist Society, and I now have a private key, which hopefully I'm going to keep private. So there's my cert.key, and then I have so that CRT file is that's from our previous incarnation this time. So I've got this key signing request. There it is, CSR, and it doesn't really look like much. So the question is, who can I get to sign this? Well, anybody I pay, yeah. And it turns out there's a couple of places to do this for free. So, for example, Komodo. So Komodo has this free SSL certificate. Hey, that sounds awesome. And this is and you have to wonder what that other 0.1%. So Komodo Group. Low cost, high assurance SSL certificates. That sounds great. Komodo.com. This is from the Komodo Group, so they have identity is verified, and that but still does not have public audit records. Chrome started complaining about public audit records. So I'm not sure what it is. So let's try this. So it's basically just says, okay, step one, CSR. Give me your CSR. How much should I worry about here? Well, so if you look, how much data is in the CSR? Well, we can use the open. So I just regenerated one. Awesome. That's even better because now I can't use that CSR to generate a key. So I'm going to dump the key signer request, and it's in a different format. There's actually a handy there's a handy cheat sheet that has a list of all the OpenSSL commands that generate these things. So let me share something. If you're a site that's trying to sell you SSL, it's SSL shopper. It's like so I've got generate the key signer request, dump. The theory is a key signer request does not actually have your private key, for example. I'm not actually seeing where I can splat the thing on the screen. But supposedly the key signer request, I mean, the reason there's two separate files is that the .key has all the private stuff, and the key signer request just says, yeah, this is what I'm asking you to do. Sure, if I can get back to Komodo. So I'm at Komodo, and I say, yeah, okay, key signer request. I prepared this thing to basically, indicate what I got. I say I'm using Apache on mod SSL because there's slightly different formats that the certificates want to come in. Maybe I should use the. Well, yeah. So this is. You would hope this is going to fail at some point. So I'm not going to opt in. So I'm going to say, let's do this. And it says, all right, let's validate your domain. Right, you must be able to and what the heck is this stuff? I have to have access to this domain. Because I could have submitted this for anything. I could have said whitehouse.gov. That's me. Sign my key, please. Right, so the problem is verifying identity is hard. Right? Komodo in this case is going to be claiming that they can verify your identity. So to do that, right, if you can receive email at admin or administrator or postmaster, webmaster, yada yada, at the domain name you claim you run, then they say, yeah, that's close enough. You can add you can take the hash, and then you can. There's actually a million alternatives which are kind of cool. So I could add a CNAME that says this. This hash is CNAME to something at komodo.com. So and then they can do a DNS lookup, and they can say, oh, you control the DNS record. You can do an HTTP. Let's see. So I can make a text file named with my MD5 hash. I don't know why they say MD5 or SHA-1, whichever. Oh, this is beautiful actually. The name of the file is the MD5 hash. The content of the file is the SHA-1 hash and komodoca.com, right? And you can't cheat this with redirects. So what are they trying to? I mean, what's the point of all this business? It should be easy. You have to verify, that you're signing keys for who you say you are, who you say you are. So I'm going to say, yeah, my alternative is none of the above. Let's do this. And it's going to be well, you're going to have to type in some stuff, and it's pulled this out of the key signing request, right? That's your server name and who you are, etc. So I presume at some point, right, you could fax them something that would indicate. And there have been cases where so how do you check this, right? So if there's a new company, we can't receive email yet, we haven't set up the server, but we want to make sure that all of our students are in there. What do you do? Well, you'll convince them. Right? There's a human being, you have to convince them, yes, that's really us. Maximum business license, and that's mail fraud, crossing state lines, and it's right. So some sort of verification validation. Of course, there's loopholes here, right? In fact, if you can convince any of the many routes that you are really who you say you are, or if they're working for you or something, right? Then there's no security there either. But right, so this is actually it's a hard problem, right? How do I verify who I'm talking to. This is just the sort of the second level version of, you know, is this really the web server I'm after? So so what are the back doors here? If you're an attacker and you want to claim that you're whitehouse.gov or Amazon or something, what can you do? Which of these could you spoof? So you notice, for example, when the problem is we haven't set up HTTPS yet. So HTTP. Redirect.
But if you have control over a router,
if I control somebody's router,
so you have to control photos.
And I don't have to control for the whole time.
On the way.
Yeah. So anybody between Photo and wherever their DNS looks up happens that the DNS poisoning. And it doesn't have to be permanent, right? It could be some glitchy thing that like you're like, we have it in place, and have the heist movie style stuff, and at the moment when they're like, we got it, go, and then you click forward, and then the little Komodo script says like, okay, you're authorized. You know, the key. This is the teaser SSL key. It has an expiration date of 90 days from now, right? Which is just enough to get started, and then you presumably pay Komodo because they're spamming you all the time because they know they have the technology. And but the trick is 90 days might be enough to actually pull off whatever forgery is attempted.
So the script you run on your local machine, it's not like you say, hey, come check me out.
I send them a CSR that has basically lots of information coded and saying who I claim I am, and then they have to verify it. So they look at that CSR and they say, okay, yeah, he's got the right email address, he's got the right, yeah.
And the automated way is that you like run the script that you just download, and just this is on their server.
This is on their server, right? So they will pull a file from your server. They will look at your DNS setup. They will send you an email. And each of these things, right, and an email, right? So this is interesting, right? Because on a system where you sign up for your own, if your initials are WEB and then your last name is Master, you might actually sign up for this webmaster. You would hope someone would figure that out, but oftentimes, right, it's just like NetRun, right? You can any email address you can come up with go back, and that might actually work. So again, this is one of these fields where you might not. It might be very hard to realize somebody has actually spoofed the organization to some, and I shouldn't be picking up Komodo here, right? They have sort of a web-based process, but I was looking at so UAF, for example, uses certificate manager from cert manager, and this is actually the in-common SSL setup. So when I have the access code, this is the one thing that protects access to this thing. But basically, I can just upload a key center request. So this is kind of surprising. The way in-common works is that if you're registered with in-common, you pay some small fee to support this server. Basically, all that happens is key center requests come to this one central place, and then they bounce out to your organizational representative, which is a guy in OIT. Right? So what he's going to get is an email saying, like, a guy claiming he's Dr. Lawler, claiming he's in the computer science department, and he seems to know the computer science department's access code, is asking for you to sign a key center request for this. Right? And the trick of in-common is that they say, if it's inside uaf.edu, this is the guy to contact. Right? So OIT. And I can get pretty much stuff signed within uaf.edu. So I got Lawler.cs signed. So this is how I got like the HTTPS /Lawler.cs. This is where the AS comes from. Is I have a signed certificate chain that goes back to essentially through OIT. So if you look at how this works, so add trust are the ones that actually in-common. Basically, there isn't it's kind of surprising. There's no intermediate certificate stored by OIT. It's basically just OIT gives the authorization to in-common for them to use their private key to sign this thing. So basically, Lawler, and I forget what all I put in the subject information. So they're saying control name is Lawler.cs. The organization has to be UAF/INECM. It's part of the Universal Justice statewide system, which is not quite right, but that's what in-common requires us to put in there. So I have to structure the key center request just right, and I'm interested. I nailed it on the first try. I don't know. I lucked out. apparently John Quan said to like try times because Incommon doesn't support, it only supports RSA and not DSA, and the modules has to be the right length. So you generate key center requests for the right format. The cool part about this, so we send across the internet this key center request, and then the private key stays on my server. Right? It never leaves. So that basically, they've said, yeah, this guy really has the authority to sign this public key. Right? That public key gets signed, right? That hash gets stored in this file, they send the file back to you. And now any web browser can ask your server, who are you really? And then your server can say, here's my credits. Right? The server can, and then the web browser can start from the root that it trusts and say, yeah, unless somebody's been lost the private key along the way, this is really the right track. So this is progress, right? This is one step ahead of HTTP. But it still ain't perfect. Partly because there's hundreds of organizations that are authorized to do roots. It's bad. I mean, that's too big. I don't know if it should be one organization, but it should not be 100. Right? That's just too many.
I don't feel like 100 should be that much either, like China.
Yeah, I mean, people implicitly trust.
Right, like,
yeah, the list of roots, and the list of roots, this is actually, it was a little surprising to me, it's not something in your system, it's something in your browser, and you can actually just go and you can say, well, I don't trust these Chinese certificates. I don't know, if you just, it's presumably security, it's,
whatever, just move that cert sign by
networks and not proxy. There we go. There we are. So you can manually import certificates, and apparently there are some organizations where you expect to do this. Like they have every one of their desktop machines has like their certificate installed. So the Walmart is not in the list, but they want to be able to basically these are the only ones we trust, for example, and we trust. Good golly, I mean, but we don't trust the strength of it. So there were a few of these that actually leaked out and are in like the don't trust these guys. They're in sort of like the opposite list. But then there's just so dang Turkey and that's German and Chamber of Commerce. Is that South Africa or something? I mean, this is this list. Ouch. So if I didn't really want those guys. Yeah, so I could just say no, no, no. That's amazing. They're all just checked by default.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the software thing.
I presume that's apps.
Yeah.
You think that these Turkish guys would. Well, why are there so many of these? You never listed Fairbanks? Oh, okay. This one I manually imported just to get it working the first time. Yeah, so. Apparently I'm trusted for NetRun. Organizational unit is really Dr. Lawler. Yeah, this was from, okay, 3/8/13, the last time I taught this class at about this time of the semester. That was when I hit this, and so you can generate your own. You can actually import your own key center requests, and again, OpenSSL kind of a cool command for playing this stuff, but it's not the only one, and I don't know of a good one, and I'm increasingly frustrated by like OpenSSL. Hard to get to like spit out what's in a key center request. The DER format, I guess I'll have to look to see if I can find some better tool that will actually show you everything in the DER. Somebody probably has written it. Yeah. So HTTPS, right? If you want to set this thing up, so I have set this thing up. You can make a key center request, upload it to a certificate, or they will send you back the certificates. You can put the certificates into your server. For Apache, this was a horrible pain, but so this is like my signature, right? And unfortunately, most browsers don't recognize just that because that's kind of useless. Of these this chain of applications. What they need is they need the whole the whole tree, right? So the whole tree is in the circuit chain. And it's circuit chain, so it's SSL circuit chain file. It's got to be ordered from the root. For some reason, from my circuit, the order you have we should order the opposite direction anyway, some line of the. So yeah, so you put this thing up, by default it's a different port 443 is the HTTPS port. Port 80 is the untrusted port. And the deal where this is so things that are broken about this. The munging the file formats. I don't think it's just I'm not using the tool. I think you're expected to just like know enough to be able to like swizzle the text files around to make them jiggle the wires electronically until the thing sends the right stuff to the clients. See, the private key never leaves your machine, which is awesome. In fact, the default with OpenSSL, you generate a key. It wants you to encrypt the private key. I usually pass no TES. They do not encrypt the private key. Why not? Why not have a private key? If I forget the password, then you kind of have to assume like that's.
As soon as that's not an accident.
They can read files upwards. Yeah. So this SSL key is like
and see if that's QSL. I mean, that's kind of scary. So
they pretty much own your machine.
Yeah.
The other big problem is power outages, because power goes out in check-in, power comes back on, server is set up to automatically reboot. Where's the password? I don't know. So when Apache starts up, it would, it says like to start Apache, you'll need to enter this password key. That's sort of the pain, right? But the deal is, there's not really a good place to store these keys. Right? It's a file on the hard drive. Readable only by. Well, yeah, that's something. It's where can you store keys that will really be like unstealable? Unless you want to steal them because like you're upgrading the server.
Oh. I was gonna say the box.
Or because they kidnapped your cat and they're like, Fluffy's gonna get it. They're like, okay, fine, you can have the keys to netrun. I mean, sorry guys, I'm gonna sell you out this. Locked in a safe deposit. So like, at midnight the power goes out.
Yeah.
And then what?
Yeah.
So it's strange because the server's key is actually something that it's got to be on the machine connected to the internet, right? It's maybe you could say it's going to be in RAM, but chances if they're so awesome they get root on your server. It being in RAM is going to slow them to be like, wow, it's not even on the hard drive. Oh, it's in RAM. Yeah, good, right? It's just not that much protection, right? It can be in the safe deposit box if it's something like every few years when like the old master certificate expires and we usually sign everybody's substitutes. That thing expires and yet we've got to go to the vault and we've got to get the super private key. And you want to make sure there's no malware on the laptop you bring into the bank to do the signing that you want to. Yeah. So yeah, setting this thing up is kind of a pain. And again, the practicalities actually sort of dominate this process here, where this thing is in an unencrypted file just because seriously, the box has to start up. You're like denial of servicing yourself if the box starts up at 2 a.m. and it's just sitting there saying like, you need to enter the key before I can do anything. That's bad. Yeah, but here's the problem. So this is a problem for NetRun right now. If I go to HTTPS yada yada crypto, this is great because it does send your username and password for basically every communication you do, and hopefully nobody's sniffing packets. Quick. So if I do this, it actually asks me to enter my username and password again. But if I say, yeah, I wonder why that came up. That's because this is essentially, it's the same server, same saved data, same everything. It's just there's a port 80 server and port 443 server. The port 80 server does no encryption whatsoever. My data is going clear text across the US, so hopefully we got it. I mean, this is bad, right? Now, if you have a fallback usable HTTP site, people could, SSL strip can redirect you to say, oh, you don't want the HTTPS, no, you want just the normal HTTP. And if the site looks normal, like if that's tolerable, then you just said security is totally optional, and then somebody can say, and we don't want it. Yeah, so I don't know, it's frustrating. You can imagine like a read-only version of Amazon.com, like you can still look at products, you just can't buy any of them. That's pretty much useless, right? And if it's the case that like people are used to be able to just like look at products, and then if there's some handoff from the insecure to the secure, then people could intercept that handoff and say, you click here, you think you're adding a the 99-cent taco or something, and you're actually getting the BMW. So it's on it, yeah. So authentication is really hard. Default server software is AOL. I mean, and it's hard throughout this thing, right? So we're staring at the security. Say, yeah, it's not file. Root your box. There's nothing so yeah, so basically keep the server alive. Any questions about this side of it, except for this supposedly, I'm actually going to make it where it will just parse this. And then if there's multiple, stuff in there, it will order itself to It's apparently coming. It's literally like one version after the one that I had installed would have just worked fine out of the box. And maybe this will just magically work. It'll for SSL certificate. So yeah, ordering a certificate chain is a pain, but just this sort of in theory, right? Oh, it's obsolete now. Yeah, why did that? That was really to 248. Pain drive. So right, all in one. I probably shouldn't admit that.
I can nmap it.
Yeah.
I can literally just ask, well, nmap is kind of like Fallout War, but okay, sure. No, it just asks. It's like, hey, what game are you playing? It's like going to a house and like checking all the doors to see if they're open. Like, hey, what are you running on this port? Hey, how about this port? How about this port?
I don't even remember what I'm running. Yeah, you're auditing the security.
If they're keyed, if not.
So there are really well-known problems with this, right? So for example, if you are literally Amazon.com, you register the DNS name Amazon.com, etc., then okay, sure, HTTPS colon Amazon.com, we'll totally do it. How about this one? Let's see, Amazon.com. Z is right next to X, so this is not totally the same. And it might look like it's pronounced the same way, right? So do that. And hey, that looks like Amazon. Is this really Amazon? I have no way to tell. It knows I'm Orion, so at least it's shared. Must be at least a man in the middle. Oh, it's redirected to Amazon with a Z. That's cool. So how about Amazon? So this is Grandma. That's a 0. That is not an O. So try that, and it's like, oh, right. So Amazon has preemptively bought the typo DNS name because they know if they didn't, someone else would, right? And then someone else could. So here's the frustrating part, right? Komodo would happily issue your certificate for Ama0.com, right? Because you own that DNS name. And then it's going to say identity verified. This is really Amazon.com, and you'll just say, and you just like put the the little verified thing would say like Amazon.com in all caps. So there's the full text. And this is really frustrating, right? In between the A and the M, maybe is an invisible, unprintable character that's like it's the half backspace used in title or something, right? Some Unicode madness. If you can DNS register that, A, Unicode madness, and other stuff, then like you can put that in your spam links, and now people click like, it's an awesome deal, right? It's for Amazon.com. Looks like Amazon.com. Yeah, it's registered as Amazon.com. So this is, knowing who you're talking to is a hard problem. HTTPS is, the certificate thing. I feel like it's a valiant first attempt at doing this stuff. There are lots of problems with it, right? Too many roots. It's actually extremely easy to like negotiate down. It's like try HTTPS, that doesn't work. HTTP is close enough, right? And like nothing, right? No security whatsoever. There's stuff where like apparently they found a cryptographic vulnerability in TLS 1.0, and you're like, well, that's fine. Nobody uses 1.0. Yeah, nobody asks for 1.0. So if you connect to a server and the server says like, sorry, we don't support 1.2, you need 1.0, it will negotiate back down and say, well, fine. And then you can exploit that cryptographic vulnerability to convince the other side that, hey, yeah, we really are Amazon right now. So, I don't know, the implementation problems, but the basic idea doesn't seem totally insane to me, right? That you might have this, and the crypto is, so the reason that all of these attacks are bypassing HTTPS is because the crypto is pretty good, right? If you don't know the public key, even though you know the two numbers that multiply to give you the prime factor key, right? So nobody is breaking the crypto. That's the surprising part, at least. So this is good, right? This is the best you can hope for. We have made it so that they have to break something else. So yeah, people. Yeah, at some point you're going to just break people.
I don't see a lot of use.
Unicode and DNS has been really controversial for that very reason. But like, if you're a Chinese company selling to Chinese, like customers, it seems funny you can't just put Chinese characters in the name.
Yeah, well, there's like.
And the DNS in Unicode and DNS is coming. It's definitely actually going to come at some point. It's going to be some stripped down version of Unicode where it's like the invisible stuff. It's perfect. So they're actually trying to build the really secure version of this. So that would be the DNSSEC. And DNSSEC has one beautiful huge advantage. There would be, for example, a .com root that can sign for .com stuff, and a .edu root and a so it would be federated. And it would not be the case that like, oh, you do HTTPS certificates? Great. Whatever, right? So we'll accept any certificate from anybody. That seems totally weird. Yeah, and there is so the trick is that there is a root DNSSEC, but the root is like we authorize com, edu, right, gov, the TLDs for the different countries, right? In other words, they do like 100 certificates a year. So. And they're apparently made an organization for the INA, the Internet Assigned Numbers Association. Yeah. So I'm totally out of time. No, virtually there is no homework. Focus on you. Spend that energy on your projects. I really need to do a Crypto type. Here's the modulus. Here's the message. Factor the modulus to find the private key and then decrypt it. So a couple of things like that. I have them in mind. I have not built them yet. Keep your eyes open for them, though. They may happen.
I can't